All right, here we are again today with the chapter 4 of from prison to
Prison Liberation and Redemption Program.
what he said.
Prison Liberation and Redemption Program, that's right.
All right, so here we
Chapter
go.
4.
Here we go. This is
John
John Greschner, and he's going to tell us some more of what he has to say. Go ahead,
His
John.
little journey down through the rabbit hole in the prison systems, the correction systems in the United States of America, state and federal prisons. So I want to talk about that statement in Early's book about Tommy Silverstein and Clay Fountain killing the cops.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to that than this. Listen.
Well, you were there, right?
No, I just picked up a kid. I'm going to get to that. Let me explain. I know all the background on all this. Okay, so in the 70s, the Federal Bureau of Prisons down in their training facility in Glencoe, Georgia, it's like Quantico for the FBI, but it's for the Federal Bureau of Prisons. They do all their training down there. They had a bunch of wardens, a bunch of regional directors, and one or two assistant directors from Washington, D.C. meet down there and plan the lockdown of Marion, Illinois, the only level 6, the new Alcatraz at that time, planning to lock that down.
Right.
They dialed it into microwave ovens all the way down in every unit. So they were doing this because the drug problem in the United States, cocaine, crack, the wars going on, they thought they were losing control of the social fabric. They were getting ready to lock up hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of U.S. citizens and snatching people from overseas. They got a friend of mine, Gaetano, out of Gibraltar. He's with the Sicilian mob. They got Mata out of Honduras. He was with the cartels. They got, guys from different spots, right? And bring them over to the United States. So the thing is, in 1980, they brought in a new warden in Marion, Illinois, named Harold Miller. He's an old Alcatraz guard from out in Iraq,
right,
back in the days in San Francisco Bay. Homeboy mine, Clyde Johnson and his crew, snatched him up, captured him, and bound and gagged him and threw him in a bush, and they hit the water off the rock trying to get away. And that's the same guy. They brought him as a warden. Okay, fast forward. In the United States Congress House Judiciary Committee and the investigations on the guard killings at Marion and all the other disruptions that were going on, their own guards from Marion, Illinois, the federal pen, testified when they brought Harold Miller in, everything he did seemed designed to destabilize the prisoner population and make shit happen. Stabbings, killings, mini riots, everything else. This would give them rationalization to lock Marion down. Now, so check it out. All this is going on. They planned this in the late 70s. Come 1983, Tommy kills Plus, Clay kills Hoffman and hits 2 more in the same day. Now listen, prior to that happening, I'm right there on the tier with these guys.
Right.
Tommy and Plutz are beefing. Me and Plutz are cool. I had an altercation with the white barber. I ended up stabbing the white barber up for some other things. And Plutz came to me and said, "Hey man, you want the white barber's job?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Don't fuck me on this. Don't get somebody in there and kill him." I said, "I ain't gonna do it." He said, "Okay." So me and Plutz had an understanding. You gotta remember, I did 19 years at Marion when it was New Alcatraz. Most of it in the fucking control unit in solitary confinement, right? And all that shit. So me and Plutz, you know how in the feds they used to work like quarters? They'd work 90 days and then they'd have to go somewhere else. They could work a second quarter, but usually then they'd have to move to another cell block or whatever, right?
Rotation.
Plutz had been down in the control unit for years and years and years. He was running the Unicorn down there.
Right.
So here's the thing.
How did he do that?
Me and Plutz got me, huh?
How did he do that? Yeah, he wasn't.
Well, I don't know. You tell me. But check it out. So he's been down there for years and years. So me and him was cool. So Tommy and Plutz are beefing. So I go talk to Tommy. I tell him, "Hey, bro, what you doing?" He said, "Man, I want to book that dude." I said, "Listen, leave that alone. You know we never get into personal shit with cops. Because if we do, it's going to end up bad. You know how it's going."
Oh, yeah.
I said, so I told him, "Listen, do not get caught with a dead cop at your feet. You're going on Birdman status." Then I go and talk to Plutz. I tell Plutz, "What are you doing, man?" you come in for 8 hours, you're jugging at this guy at Silverstein, poking at him, and for 8 hours he's jugging back. You guys just keep ratcheting this shit up. Both of you are out of line. You guys need to step back. Klutz tells me, well, he needs to fucking understand his place. I tell him, yeah, you're right, but you need to understand your place too. We got to get back into our roles. Convicts and cops. There's very clear parameters we function off of to keep shit stable and regulate them yards. Otherwise, shit's gonna turn into madness, right? So 4 or 5 different times I taught Tommy off the fucking ledge from killing Klutz. So, and I tell him, I say, listen, bro, I'm going to get out. I'm going to Leavenworth. I talked him into letting me go to Leavenworth. I'm going to be there 6 months. I'm going to get back to the state, get resentenced. I'm going to get out, and I'll get you out. You got my word, brother. He said, okay, brother, I got it. He said, I'll be cool. Because you got to remember, he's been in there a few years now, and he's already picked up a couple bodies. So
Yeah.
the unit manager walks through there named Holland. This is a homeboy of the guard Klutz. And me and Tommy, I'm sitting out in the rec cage in front of the cell. We're playing dominoes, sliding rocks back and forth. We're smoking some weed. We're chopping shit up. I tell him, here comes the unit manager. He says, okay. So Holland walks, and T pulls him up when he gets in front of the cell, and he tells him, listen, man, if you don't get Klutz off my back, I'm going to book him. And Holland kind of leaned back and looked at him. He didn't really say anything. And Tommy tells me this guy's been fucking with me, fucking with my properties, doing all these different little things, fucking with my artwork, stepping on my family photographs, leaving them on the floor, just all this bullshit. If you don't get him off my back, I'm going to fucking book him. They never did anything to stop it. So, here's a guy that came down to the control unit from Leavenworth for killing Atwell. Mm-hmm. That got reversed later, but he went in there on a body on a life sentence on that. Well, since he's been in the control unit, he picked up 2 bodies, killing Cadillac Smith and killing Omar Chappelle. So this is not a guy that's just bumping his gums talking shit. He's got a few bodies behind him. He's telling you he's going to book the guy. He's going to book him. They didn't do anything to stop it. So what happens, I get out, I get down to fucking Leavenworth, I only last 4 months. I get in a knife fight. The one early talk about the public execution, that's the knife fight with this fucking guy. Right. The word takes 2 weeks to get back to the swamp. That's what we call Marion, the swamp, because it's built on a landfill, the Crab Orchard Wildlife Preserve, Crab Orchard Lake, the crazy-ass U.S. EPA Superfund cleanup site. We're drinking all this water with this high concentrations of manganese that induces violent behavior and everything else, right? So, anyhow, it takes 2 weeks for word to get back to Marion. And Tommy, here, John just caught a hot one, man. He's going to be coming back. He's getting indicted for murder. Tommy rolls out, has Randy Gomez help him. He looses his cuff, gives him a piece. He comes out and kills Klutz. That night, Clay hits 3 of them because he hears them talking about retaliating against Tommy and friends of his. So he rolls out and gets 3 of them. Okay. The thing is this. This is solitary confinement, sensory deprivation and all. Now, Tommy was a guy that always drove high tension, high stressed out that whole trip, right? And it doesn't help the fact that he's naturally like that, but now you got him in deep solitary, really stressed out, and then drinking that toxic fucking witch's brew, the water out of Crab Orchard Wildlife Preserve. And we filed a lawsuit, me, Ronnie Brashino, and Danny Byfield of Hell's Angel dude out of Connecticut. We filed it on the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and they shut it down because we were making allegations that all the violence at Marion, a lot of it is chemically induced because of the manganese intoxication. Anyhow, so Tommy's all stressed out, and this is what led to that. When I got down to Leavenworth, listen, I only did like maybe 9 years in solitary at that time I got out. When I hit the yard at Leavenworth, when you walk down the hallway towards the chow hall, and then you hook a right going down the steps going towards the hospital, right, and then you're going to hook a left going out to the bigger little yard. Yeah. I was going out. When I stepped down them steps out of that doorway, the sky was like a living force pressing, a brilliant blue force pressing down on me. The grass was vibrating. It was like I dropped a mild hallucinogenic drug. That sensory overload from being in sensory deprived conditions so fucking long. So it's no wonder I'm running around packing a fucking Roman sword, paranoid, because we've been having these fucking killings in these other spots. And then I end up getting in the goddamn knife fight and killing a guy, right? And I wasn't trying to do it, but it's just one of them things, man. So Tommy is under those conditions, and this is what happened. Okay, so fast forward. Ronnie Buscino fucking files the lawsuit, Buscino versus Carlson, to get the lockdown at Marion up. This is based on the Freedom of Information Act and the documents we got, where it showed they planned the lockdowns of Marion in the late 90s, years before the so-called crisis where they had to lock Marion down. The reason they were doing this is they're getting ready to lock up, like I said, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of U.S. citizens, and they need new facilities. And right after that shit happened, with Tommy in play, they brought back the federal death sentence, brought back a whole bunch of new federal death crimes, and then they started building this rash of building prisons all over the United States, including the supermaxes, the no human contact, like the ADX in Florence up here where I'm at. These other ones, state and federal pens, started doing. Once it became authorized in the federal courts in Marion, in Benton, Illinois, right there, when they accepted it, and then it was appealed to the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals in Chicago. They agreed, went up to the United States Supreme Court. They rubber stamped it. That opened the door for everyone to build these supermaxes in these solitary confinement joints, knowing full well the impact it has on people. But they needed to rationalize it, and they needed it at Marion. Marion was the only place in the United States that was a level 6 with the new Alcatraz. So they're sending all the fucking people that are catching cases and getting caught up shit from around the country, state and federal prisons, they're going to Marion. And a lot of them are waiting to go to the control unit in Marion, which is H unit. Mm-hmm. So the thing is they needed to say, listen, this is where all the bad apples are. This is where they coined the term the worst of the worst out of the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. Yeah. So they're saying they got to put all the bad apples in one spot and lock us down because we're so bad. But what they didn't know is a combination of things. The toxic water, sensory-deprived conditions, sensory deprivation in solitary confinements, and then the stress of all the inner dynamics going on there. Like I told a professor one time, Professor Ward, he was one of the investigators for the United States Congress, investigating Marion on the lockdown, on the guard killings and everything. I told him, listen, man, under those severe conditions, two of the primary therapeutic modalities guys down in them units use to deal with those extreme conditions is homicide and suicide. They're having visions of homicide, killing motherfuckers all the time, and they can't take it no more, and they seek to escape by killing themselves, which is no escape because you can't get away from yourself. The truth of the matter is this: we'll get into this shit down the road. This is the liberation part. I'm a master meditator. I'm a yogi and monk. I've been doing this shit over 50 years. There's no death. We lose the bodies, but there's no death, man. I've been doing that secret shit out of them temples for decades, man. I've left the body. This is shit I teach here on this yard. Transcendental meditations, Buddhism, Siddha yogas, all. I've been teaching it all over the United States. California pens, federal pens, anything. But so there's no, just a little kernel of information. If you seek to escape your suffering through suicide, you're just going deeper into the realms from which it arises in the being. You're going deeper into your suffering. So anyhow, that don't work. But the point is, so we file this lawsuit, Ronnie Buscino does, and he calls me as a witness. And I'm out there, and I'm in the courtroom in front of Marion, and Magistrate Myers is handling it. And the government's covering all this up. I'm trying to get out this document that they were planning this lockdown of Marion years before. They just needed sufficient crises to develop and to occur.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that, Bob. I've heard that before.
This is real shit. This is real shit. To give them rationalization, to lock it down, and then go nationwide with it. And get the courts to rubber stamp it. This was a government plan. So check it out. So what happens is we're up front. They got me on the stand. I'm trying to get it out. And they keep blocking it. And we got Donna Kolb and Nancy Horgan, two lawyers. They're doing the best they can, but they can't get it. So I just start shouting it out from the witness stand. This is what the fuck it really is. We had this shit under Freedom of Information talking about all this stuff the whole trip, planning this lockdown. They're claiming the A, B, and gangs took over Marion, and they lost control, and they had to get it back. That's all bullshit. So they plotted and schemed this shit. And they were going to use this to build new facilities all over the United States and lock American citizens down. And the judge tells me, Mr. Greschner, you can't do that. You can't just be out. I said, no, I know I'm out of line, but there's no other way I can get it in. There's news media and everybody in there. I'm trying to get this shit out. They're saying Tommy and Clay killed the cops just to see if they put the most notches in their gun handles, man. That's bunk. That's all bullshit. So I'm arguing. Then he says, "You understand?" I says, "Yeah, I understand." Then he looked at me, gave me a dirty look. He said, "You understand? Like, if you don't understand, I'll come down off this bench and fuck you up." And I looked at him. I said, "Yeah, I'm serious." Yeah, I looked at him. I said, "Check this out, you little punk. I'll fuck you in your ass. You're a bitch." And then the marshal get him out. So they dragged me out of the fucking courtroom. And then Nancy Horton comes out. She says, "John, we need your testimony." She said, "What the fuck do you think this is? The Chicago 7 trials during the hippie days?" I don't know. I'm trying to get out what it really is. They're covering everything up. So that's what the fuck that shit really was, man. And this changed corrections in the United States of America for like the next 30 fucking years.
It did. It definitely did. I know that. I know that what happened to me. I've heard that they had that plan a long time, you know, in case something went on. And it went on in the control unit for sure, you know.
And it went out on the main line. You had
stabbings
out there, a couple of killings. You had a couple of mini riots. Warden Miller would authorize shit for prisoners being able to do, and as soon as they start doing it, he'd tell them, "Write them all up." They said, "Wait a minute, you just authorized it." He said, "No, that's been rescinded." He said, "Write them up." And it was creating friction. They needed shit to happen at Marion specifically because it was the only level 6, so it's easy to say, "Well, this place is an exception. It's a new Alcatraz, an exception. We need to lock it down, and we won't do it anywhere else. We're just doing it here." And once they ruled, Magistrate Myers ruled that it was good. It passed constitutional muster under due process of law and the 8th Amendment on cruel and unusual punishment. And then Judge Foreman in Benton, Illinois accepted Magistrate Myers' report and recommendation. And then when it was appealed, the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals in Chicago accepted it, called us the worst of the worst, where all these demons and all this shit. And then they appealed it to the United States Supreme Court, and they rubber stamped it. That was a wrap, Jack. And for the next 30 years, they started building all these Supermaxes, these deep slammers all over the United States. There's no telling how many prisons
Every
they built.
state's got one now, bro.
Hey, check it out. Even the Federal Bureau of Prisons, when I first landed there in 76, when they kidnapped me out of the state and took me in and took me to Marion, at that time, the whole federal prison system had a little over 25,000.
Yeah, I remember. Now it's like 250,000. Yeah.
Hey, yeah. So what happened?
You have 1 minute left.
Hey, then they started this war on drug shit. This whole plot they had going on. Hey, man, and they went up to over, like $250,000, right? All right, listen, man, they're gonna cut us off. So good talking to you, man. Ain't nobody sitting here. You want to do another one?
Come on, let's do another one, man.
All right, I'm gonna call you back right now.
All right.
The caller has hung up.